Well, since nobody's doing a live, I figured I'd take the liberty since I'm awake and on the road. If anybody comes back and watches this, this is California Highway 99. I had to go all the way around the Sierra Nevada to get here. Yeah, I'm 140 miles away, though. I'll get there way ahead of schedule. Hopefully, they'll let me drop it. That'd be nice. Drop, grab an empty, find the nearest washout. And by that time, hopefully, I'll have a dispatch already to go pick up a load somewhere. Now, if a certain somebody wasn't overseas and back at home, I normally would try to get the load out of Salina, California, in the Monterey area, because usually a load that comes out of there goes up to Calgary, Alberta, to the Walmart there, which isn't far from Edmonton. Sammy, come up here. You still have access. Don't bullshit me. Hell, I can't remember how to do that. I could use a co-host. Now, mind you, I'm 3 hours behind Eastern time zone. That's why I'm just now getting daylight. All right, hang on. Let me have to do it the old-fashioned way. Uh, let's see here. Ah, here we go. Now I remember. There it is. Cool. If Buddha shows up, she'll probably be laughing and fully understand the title of this live stream. She's probably the only one that will. I changed it a couple of words, but basically that same sentence was used in a movie. Yeah, I just went through Delano. It's famous for their grapes. A lot of the grapes you buy in the grocery store here in the States most likely came from the Delano area. Mm-hmm. Sammy, I just put the link in there. Or anybody else that wants to come up here, I don't care. But that was a short video I did because I don't think my microphone works very well when I record. But that was the only way I was going to be able to get that video. I spent the night in Death Valley. Excuse me. Had to drive down, I think it was like 65 miles to near Barstow to get some fuel. Just enough to get me to where my real fuel stop is, which is give me the cheaper fuel here in Moderna. Well, I briefly had Sean Tuber on there with me yesterday. There we go. I got Sammy in here.
You can hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. You're great.
Okay.
I believe this is the San Fernando Valley. I think they call it. I can't. I could be wrong. I don't know. I wish Sean
I
Tuber was
just
here.
I just say good night to Robert and then you do live stream Dofus.
Nobody else was doing one, and I couldn't have joined one yesterday anyway. The location I was.
I have headache, yeah, that's why. I like to rest early.
I was lucky I had signal for anything in the area I was in. When I left Reno and went
Mhm.
south along 95,
I did a live stream earlier. Just cooking adobo.
yeah, I had to wait till I got over to Hatchapee and got into Bakersfield before I had strong enough signal for anything.
Mhm. Precious life, hello there.
Hi,
Precious
Precious
life.
Life.
HK, hello there. Robert, you like to come up here? Langga?
I'd like to see Precious Life come up. She probably just left.
Silly.
I really would have liked to have gone over Donner Pass and showed everybody that yesterday, but they stopped everybody at the border and they're like, you're going to chain up every axle. And I'm like, it's that bad up there? Like, yeah. And like, you can't use the auto socks on the trailer. They want you to sling iron on the trailer. And
What
I'm
is
like,
this?
oh, hell with that.
Oh, what is this? There's no banana. Oh, the
There it
banana
is.
is gone. Oh, there you go. Now I see.
Yeah, the day you did that, I was like, that's a good character. Sammy is hilarious when she's the banana.
Oh, silly.
What took place between you and Ellie was just hilarious. Yeah, I was going to head down to Las Vegas, but I rolled the dice and said, to hell with it. I'm going to take US 6 and go through Death Valley. And I got that 23-second video, but boy, it was beautiful through there, though, wasn't it? Precious Life, if you haven't seen it, before I did the live stream, I uploaded a video of 23 seconds that I recorded yesterday. I recorded some more, but the video and the audio wasn't any good, so I was like, nah, I won't do that.
You're such a douchebag. You have a plan to do live stream, but you wasn't message me, huh?
Look, I was in the middle of the desert, Sammy. I had no signal for nothing.
Oh,
Unless you can take a 911 call.
you just reply me. Duh. And then I'm ready to go to bed and then you do live stream. You're silly.
I tipped him. But this is the flattest part of California, the valley here.
Mhm. I don't know where Robert go.
Well, I don't know. We only got one in the chat, I think. Everybody left.
Maybe he's in the back
And
stage.
no, oh, wait, yeah, hang on. I can't really look at that. Yeah, I got it. There we go.
What the
See?
fuck?
He's waiting.
There we go. Now I was trying to get it back to the StreamYard. Hello, guys. What's up, brother?
Hey, don't, Robert.
Hi, Lunga.
The title of my live stream came from the movie Bound by Honor, Blood In, Blood Out. It's about the Latino community and their culture. It's a good movie.
Speaking of movie, we are watching new come out Chupa. The title is Chupa. CHUPA, and what the call this one? It's a good movie. It's all
I like.
about the what the call this one. It's all about the
Yeah, since
animal
you got
that have
Netflix,
wings.
you need to watch Smokey and the Bandit.
You have to message me that title.
I thought it was a good movie.
She watched the RV. That was hilarious. That's one of my favorite Robin Williams movies. It's one of the last ones he did too.
I'm not the only one watching it. Also, Kuya Naki played that one.
Yeah, I watched it with you too. It was a good movie.
That's the beauty of StreamYard and being able to video call people and watch movies together.
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose to last time that I what the call this one. I tried to play my Netflix here in the laptop, and then I tried to share in StreamYard. It's not working.
Probably
Signal must
because,
not have been good.
yeah, probably because Netflix was not going to let you do that.
Yeah, Netflix doesn't allow to do that.
A video game would be different, but I don't think Netflix or any of the movie apps will let you do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but see, that's what originally what was it? Twitch. That's what Twitch was for. But now it's turned into like our fans only. Twitch has, but Twitch was basically designed for people playing video games, showing their video game, how to do certain things in a video game.
I have Twitch before, but I deleted it. I don't like to have a lot of application to my phone.
Yeah, I had to take a lot of stuff off of mine to eat a lot of memory up.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it in the distance. This is thick fog,
Yeah, I
but when
see
I
it.
look at my screen, I could see farther.
Mhm.
Most of the cameras probably filtering out a lot of stuff.
And here comes that tree. You couldn't see
A
it
lot of those
before.
bugs.
But Sammy, this
Yes,
is
sir.
the fruit basket. This is the bread basket of our country right here. A lot of our fruits and vegetables are grown right here, and they're picked by the Mexicans. And people bust their butt picking our fruits and vegetables, and we got all these idiots saying, "Well, send them back to Mexico." I'm like, okay, you want to hire regular Americans that aren't going to do that job anyway for minimum wage? Ain't going to happen. And if they do, the price of the fruits and veggies are going to go up. I said, you want to pay $20 for that sack of oranges? I said, be careful what you wish for. And so, yeah, some of these drivers learn their lesson. You don't wear a red MAGA hat out here. You do that, you're going to be sitting.
Silly.
They won't, they'll be like, okay, they'll be like, oh, you go to your truck, we'll call you when you're ready. And I'm going to make you wait. I saw that one guy, man. Boy, he beat me there. He was sitting there waiting. I went into a door right away. He comes up bitching a bitch. He goes, I've been sitting here for an hour. They're putting you in the door right away. I'm like, wasn't that you that blew my door off about an hour and a half ago? Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. They unloaded me in about 10 minutes. Pulled out, backed in, parked right beside him to do my depart and the paperwork and scan it out. As soon as I got done, they dispatched me with a load right out of there. I walked right over to him and said, one of the Mexican guys, did you get that dispatch? I'm like, yeah, how'd you know? He goes, usually you guys get a load out of here when we offload you. I said, it ain't going to be the same stuff, is it? He goes, oh, no. Backed me in the door, got loaded. The dude was still sitting there waiting to get unloaded. I got unloaded and loaded and out of there within an hour. I told him, I said,
Right.
dude, might want to reconsider taking that red hat off. You need to burn that red hat.
Oh,
Sorry, Kuya, I don't have a good mood because my headache.
There.
yeah, just rest your head.
What do you have in the back, Kuya?
I got Chobani yogurt, the expensive stuff.
Mm.
It's like $4 or $5 for a pint.
Ow.
But the women that work out at like Planet Fitness or at a gym somewhere, it's popular that they eat it. I had it. It's great. I like Chobani yogurt. It's healthy for you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good too. I like the mixed berry. They got a lot of flavors. I tried the coconut, but it has like a sour taste to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the mixed berry is the best one.
Kuya, I can't stay
Ah,
long.
there.
My headache so much. Painful.
You can stay as long as you want.
Yeah, I can't stay long. Langga, don't leave, Kuya, siya, okay?
Uh, oh, Medford Airfield. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I'm going back to some breakfast, and I got to do some videos myself today. So
Breakfast.
Let Kuya,
It's almost
wait,
yeah,
10:30 where you're at.
wait, Kuya, siya need to be finished.
so that- it's,
Because I'm going to rest. Kuya,
Okay. I'll
okay?
get some rest. Sleep good.
Langga,
good night,
don't leave, Kuya, siya yet.
good night, my guy.
Good night. Bye for now, Kuya.
Bye bye. Yeah, hopefully by the time that she
No,
wakes up, I'll be in Arizona
yeah,
or in
sorry. Go ahead.
Southern California. I want to like get a short run from up here, go down to San Diego, get offloaded Monday, pick up the that scallop load to head back east. That pays a massive amount of money, but it takes 3 days, three and a half, 4 days to get it done though,
Uh huh.
because it's 3,000 miles. And about it took the load that I had before this one. The load I had before this one was headed back east, not too far from my house, but Wyoming and Soldier Pass was impassable. And I'm not driving to Vegas to go back east. That's way the hell out of the way. So he had me drop it at our yard in Salt Lake, pick up an empty, and go up to Twin Falls, Idaho, and pick up the Chobani yogurt here. Yeah, I'm gonna stop here at this Love's and get a coffee. This Love's is new. Probably take a 10-100 too. Yeah, I enjoy whoever shows up to my live streams, or they could just watch the replay.
Well, I came to the short one you did, but you went out. Went to
Oh,
sleep when
yesterday?
I would know what you did earlier. I thought it was alive, and you just did a video or something.
No, I just uploaded a 23-second video when I was in Death Valley. That is supposedly where the wrestler The Undertaker is from. No, he is from Waco, Texas.
Thought he
He's
was,
always
I thought
lived
he
in
was,
Texas.
I thought he was a Texan.
Yeah, he's always lived in Texas. Even back in the day before he became The Undertaker, when he was Mean Mark, one
Mhm.
half of the Skyscrapers with Sid Vicious. I'll never forget it when the last event of WCW was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and my brother took my stepfather to go see it. It was the last sanctioned event by WCW when Vince McMahon purchased it, right? And that was one hell of a way to go. It ended his career, which was sad too. There was a tag match, and Sid Vicious came off the top rope and he delivered an axe handles to whoever he was wrestling, but he landed on his feet normally, but his leg snapped. Oh my God, man! You can find it on YT. His leg just went plop, and it's like, oh, you knew that wasn't fake. That was freaking real. It's like, oh man. I remember he listened to my brother talking about it. He was talking to some fan next to him, and my stepfather hit him on the shoulder. He goes, Jack, that ain't normal. Nope. I believe that injury ended his career too. Like the leg part, from the knee to the foot, right in the middle, both bones snapped, and his leg just bent, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah, I was talking about that. I was at the game that Joe Theismann
I saw that on TV.
I saw it on the field.
LT knew because he heard this. He said he heard the snap, and as soon as they hit the ground, he came up.
That was the most wow. Just the way his leg, you could see it just snap.
Yeah, it snapped the same way Sid Vicious's leg snapped.
His ankle was flat on the field, and his other part of his leg was like that. You can see it.
Oh yeah.
You can see it broke.
Everybody call that the Joe Theismann hit.
That was a career-ending, and actually another Redskins quarterback. He didn't stay with the Redskins very long. I think only one season. Now, what was his name?
RG3.
No, it's a white guy.
RG3 would have had a brilliant career.
RG3 had injuries before he even went into pro football.
Yeah, but he played that playoff game injured and made it even worse to where it ended his career.
Well, that's Joe Gibbs got a lot of crap for that.
Yeah, RG3 was a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, well, he never, to me personally, my opinion, he never should have made it to pro football. No pro team should have ever recruited him because of all the injuries he had in college. He was a target. He had a bullseye on him. Every defensive lineman was going to go after him, and they knew where to hit.
But he had a lot of heart.
He had heart, but you ain't going to stop a 300-pound man taking you out at your knees.
Nope.
And them 300-pound men ain't like they were 20 years ago. 300 pounds, they can move now.
Oh, yeah, they move like a freight train.
Yeah, they move. They're not slow like they used to be. They're fast. They'll run you down. Because they're in shape now.
Oh, yeah.
20, 25 years ago, they just wanted big people. Didn't care if they were fit or not. They just wanted big. Now they get big but fit. Yeah.
I was one of them, but I got injured, ruined my scholarship to Clemson.
Oh, worse, kind of where my knee problem started was playing football, but football and soccer. But the military and then civilian life, I mean, being a mechanic for the last part of my life, just finished my knees off. Standing on concrete 10, 11 hours a day and kneeling on it. And
that's not good.
Well, that's what destroyed my knees. That's it. There was nothing left in my knees.
One thing after another. Yeah, I know if a couple of my certain trolls that think that they know the trucking business. One of them I know they do, but they only go by what they hear. They'd be on, "You're sitting in the fuel island, not getting fuel." Yeah, the only truck in the other fuel island is that one you see to the left. This, fuel island is empty. So
Yeah, everybody's already on the
no one's
road.
in a hurry. Yeah,
Everybody's already on the road.
yeah, they're going to deliver their loads like me,
Yeah.
and they're going to probably go home. The ones that are
because of
local.
Easter. Yeah, because of Easter. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I just got back from Giant and went and got myself a little small ham just for me. I'll just make a small meal for myself tomorrow.
Ham.
Well,
I don't know who started that.
I don't either.
Ham for Easter.
Just
I think. Well, we had turkey.
Yeah, my mom used to make ham and homemade green beans, and
I think it's a joke against the Jewish people because they don't eat pork.
my mom would do the green beans with potato and cut up salt pork and slow cook it for like those green beans for like 2 hours. Oh my God. That was the one thing. That's the one thing is growing up as a kid, man. Is walking in the house on a holiday and smelling all the smells.
I think the title of this live stream probably might get Buddha's attention because she knows what. Wait a minute, I know that.
Yeah, I didn't even look at the title, dude. I can't look at it now because I'm in StreamYard, so I just saw that you were live and I clicked it and it went right to your.
How did you know he was in Delano? How did you know that the head of the Unda was there? What it was is the guy killed the head of the Unda that was being transferred from San Quentin to Chino, but he had a stop off in Delano, and nobody knew that they had done this. That the prison system had done that. They did it because a lot of the Latino prison population listens to him. His name was Montana. He was the leader of the group called La Unda, and he was set up actually by his own people, but they made it look like this other group had done it because of this comb. Bonafide, he's part of the Black Guerrilla Army. He was he sent it. The people copied his comb, put a phony message in it, and sent it to one of their members that's on the outside. So he was drunk, got thrown in the same jail that Montana was going to be in. He got close to him and killed him.
It's funny that you brought that up. I don't know why when you said Montana that this popped in my head. When they first started pushing that video football game, and the very first football player they had when they launched that Joe Madden football was Joe Montana.
John Madden,
I'm sorry. They used Joe Montana in the commercial.
Yeah,
they kept showing him the ink spots. What do you see? It says Reggie White, Reggie White, Reggie White.
Yeah, the original Madden games was owned and distributed by Sega, because I had the first one came out in the Sega Genesis, and every year they'd come out the new Madden game and it improved.
Yeah.
You go back and look at the original Madden games, you look at it like, really?
Yeah.
But actually,
I had a Dreamcast, which actually was really good.
Yeah, I think that was the last platform they made. But
the Dreamcast was the conversion over to what they turned into now. The Dreamcast was way, way ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, not as of late, because every time they test one, People videotape it, and the thing crashes miserably. The self-driving trucks, you ain't gonna see it in our lifetime.
Oh, you mean the
He,
ones on the highway?
yeah, Elon Musk, he knew it went belly up. He lost a lot of money on that, you know,
Well, Tesla's the
because
one that I think Tesla was the one that actually broke ground for that.
yeah, Elon Musk.
And
But
Mercedes and all the others jumped on the bandwagon and got that auto drive stuff now.
yeah, there's too many variables. There is just too much that could happen that a computer will not detect or realize to where a human would.
Well, I know Mercedes because my buddy works for Mercedes. And I went up on him. Every time I'm there and I visit him, me and him will walk up to the showroom and see what's new. And they had one of the, I forget what series it was, but this thing had so many freaking sensors in the grill, on the dash, up where the visors are, up in the windshield. I mean, it had so many different sensors all over this car. And yeah, so what are those for? He said, that's for when you do autopilot.
Yeah, you may see self-driving cars, but they're behind too.
Yeah,
Because they crashed. One of them killed somebody.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you want to do this self-driving shit? You put your wife and children in that vehicle and let it go through LA traffic up here, and then you'll convince me.
Yeah.
That'll never happen. They
Well,
won't put.
if it was military, it would probably be totally different. The military would get it down to the T, but it would never be in applications where it would be in a city like that.
Uh-huh.
But
It would still be connected to a power line or some outside source.
well, yeah, it's AI. It's gonna like Bluetooth. It's gonna run like Bluetooth. That's exactly how they'll operate it.
I mean, like,
It's just
really, do we?
just like the drones. I mean, you got a live person sitting in the building
Yeah, but
controlling them.
everybody doesn't look at the negative side effects that come from that. If it were to be successful, what are the negative side effects? Okay, you just put another 3.5 million people out of work.
Yeah.
I mean, are they wanting to? They can do most of it, but are they really wanting to go there? It's bad enough we got enough unemployed and homeless people here as it is. They want more.
I mean,
You automate the work in the country or send it overseas. You put everybody out of work.
well,
Okay, now
that started before the pandemic, Sean. But I knew during the pandemic and after the pandemic, I said it to many friends that businesses and stuff, the way of life that you had before it, would not be the same.
no. Hey, keep it going, Robert. I'm going in to get a coffee. I'll be right back. Okay.
All right.
All right. Hang on.
I got to get my phone up and be in chat. And if there's anybody in chat, I got to get it up. I won't be able to see what anybody's saying. How you doing, Aaron? If you're still there, how you doing, precious life? But yeah, as for the AI stuff, I used to talk to my friends when the pandemic hit and said that once they got it under control, the things would never go back to normal. That life as we knew it was not going to be the same. Anybody left in chat? Oh, a beautiful sunrise. I got to ask him when he comes back. I think he said he's out. California? Oh, no, yeah, California. God, it's been a lot of years since I've been out that way. Hurry up, Sean. Oh my goodness. Not good when I'm alone like this. But I try. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. I just got to do more of them to get more comfortable being on live streams. Being on somebody's live stream is different, but doing my own by myself is what I got to get comfortable doing. Hold on here. What's going on here? Oh my goodness. Hope that's you coming back as I'm dying here, brother.
Yeah, there you go, Robert. See, what they didn't realize is when they had that eureka moment by, you know, automation, or since people complain about, people coming over here and getting jobs, they're like, okay, we'll just go over there to them. So they shipped our jobs to India, China, Brazil. And what they didn't realize is pretty soon people aren't going to be able to afford what you're trying to sell. So they killed the goose that laid its golden eggs, and now everybody's going to pay the price for that.
Well, it is what it is, dude.
Yeah, but there'll be some people like, well, it didn't affect me. Yeah, it didn't affect you, but you're one of 330 million that live in this country.
It affected me as a mechanic. I'm glad that I'm not in the field anymore because my friend's still doing it. But what he tells me is you don't actually do any really diagnosing anymore. All you
Nope, you plug it in.
all you are is a part changer.
Yeah, all you do is plug it in, and
Yeah,
a computer tells you.
And that's what he does. He plugs it because I was there one day talking to him at lunch, and he took his laptop over there and plugged it into the harness, hit a button, and the computer started running the car through all the systems.
Yeah, but it's not accurate. Sometimes it's faulty because they did the same thing to my Freightliner, and I told them it's my clutch switch that's gone bad.
It was the coolest thing I ever saw, though, dude, was watching the headlight.
One thing you learn in the trucking business, and I've always known this, they don't believe a word the trucker says. Never. And I told them it's my clutch switch because I talked to our road assist guy. You give him your diagnosis of smells, tastes, or sounds, he'll know exactly what's wrong with the truck.
Oh, dude, you got to remember, I'm back from old school, pulling engines out with a chain over a tree branch. I mean, when I was younger, before I got actually into the field.
Yeah.
Everything was diagnosing. You had to diagnose it. It wasn't no computer you could hook it to, or.
Yeah, that's one reason why I didn't buy a Freightliner, because their service department sucks. See, that when I was in Amarillo, they hooked it up to the computer and said everything's fine. I said, no, it ain't. My clutch switch is bad.
Freightliner, so I don't care for anyway, Sean, because I think they're not very well made.
Yeah, so they're a good made truck. The best one they made was the Century. Good truck, but they stopped making those.
But I forget that one. There's the like Prince William County, Virginia here. When they started their bus service, like Metro Bus, like public transit, they went out and bought them little mini Freightliner buses.
And I don't know how they would.
and they kept having issues with them. The suckers got so hot they would catch on fire.
Yep.
And then they merged with Metro themselves. Well, they didn't merge. They hired Metro to do the maintenance on their vehicles.
Oh.
And then it got to the point where when Metro started retiring old buses, they would sell them to them.
Uh-huh.
And so they eventually started getting it was older equipment, but it was better than what they were using.
Uh-huh. But back about the clutch switch, I was in Amarillo at the Freightliner. They hooked it up to the computer. They said, everything's fine. I said, no, it ain't. My road assist man said my clutch switch is bad. Okay, so road assist takes our calls at Prime, and they tell us where to go and how to get it fixed and everything else. I pay for it because I'm an owner operator. Anyway, I made it to Salt Lake City from Amarillo at our yard there. 18-year-old kid was the only one working the shop at the time. He switches it out. I said, give me the broken part. And that fixed my problem. I finally had retarder brake again. You lose your clutch switch, you won't have retarder brakes.
Mm-hmm.
So then about a week later, I'm in Amarillo. I stopped by the Freightliner, and I go, where's your manager? I went right to the manager, and I set that on his desk. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, you remember me? You know, the guy that kept telling you it was my clutch switch was the problem with the truck? I said, there's the clutch switch right there. Your computer is wrong.
Yeah, that I had the same situation with a Pontiac that I had. That I thought was the mass airflow sensor, right? So I replaced the mass airflow sensor, and I was still getting the check engine light. And I was running on my code reader through it, and I was getting the same codes. And I go, that can't be. It's a brand new mass airflow sensor. And I ended up taking it back. The manager at this parts store was really understanding. He said, maybe you did get a defective one. I'll just take this one out and defective it and give you another one. I took it home, hooked it up, ran for about 10 minutes, did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have my code reader. Like I said, a handheld code reader is not going to catch every code and go deep into the system to pinpoint it. And I finally ended up having to take it to a General Motors dealership. And they hooked it to their computer, and he finally chased it down what it was. It was a pigtail harness that ran from the throttle body to the mass airflow sensor. It was shorting out.
Uh-huh.
So a $40 part. And a mass airflow sensor can cost you about $130, $150.
Mm-hmm. What took the cake with Freightliner, because I own my first two trucks I owned were Freightliner. What took the cake was I did like the design of the Pete, no doubt. But another reason why I turned my back on Freightliner was this. I had to take my truck back 3 times, and it took them 2 weeks to finally fix a problem. Mm-hmm. That would have only took an hour if they had listened to me. But like I said, they will not listen to a trucker ever. They will not listen to you. They go by what they know, and they go by what the computer tells them. Yeah. What happened was I took it to the Freightliner in Springfield, Missouri. We got our main yard there. And I told them exactly what they needed to do. I said, I was vandalized. Somebody stuffed a lot of shit in my fuel tank on the passenger side. I said, you're going to have to drop the tank, get the fuel out, and scoop out all that shit that's in there that's blocking up the line. Well, they didn't listen to me. And I kept saying, I had to come back again. It's still there. And I told them after the 3rd time, drop the tank, and I'll stick my hand down there and grab the shit out of there.
Yeah.
And when I finally got the keys back from my truck, I looked right at management and I grabbed their attention. And I said, I will not buy another Freightliner product because you won't listen to what I'm saying. I said, some of your drivers have college degrees. We're not stupid. And I was one of those.
Yeah, well, I had a friend that when they first started putting diesels and GMs, but what they did is they took the big block 454 motor and they converted it over to a diesel, and it was not a very good design. But anyway, he somehow he had water in one of his tanks, and the truck would not stay running. It would start, but it would not stay running. And I told him what to do, and he kept just going in there and pulling the throttle body off and breaking the line up under the bottom and blowing out at a certain point. And I said, dude, it's not in your, it's in your lines, but it's coming from the tank.
Yeah.
I said, all you're doing every time you start it is you're pushing all that funky water fuel right back up into the engine again.
Well, they should have went towards
I did it.
diesel because it's cheaper to make.
I finally ended up doing it for him. I ended up dropping both tanks.
Yeah.
And blowing everything out and blowing every line out and replacing every filter.
Diesel is cheap to make. Okay. Per 1 barrel of oil, you get 3 barrels of diesel and 2 gasoline.
Mm.
And diesel is more of a byproduct than anything until they started mass producing it. But they wanted everybody to switch over to diesel so they could get rid of gasoline, because diesel, more in abundance you can make of it than you can gasoline. And it still does not make sense. Why did diesel finally surpass gasoline?
Well, I mean, diesel engines now, I mean, like I passed.
We have a surplus of diesel.
Yeah.
Not gasoline, though.
I'll walk past some of these new diesel trucks and these Rams. You can't even tell they're diesels. You can't even hear them running. I mean, that's how quiet they are now, and how clean. You don't see anything coming out of the exhaust on them. I mean, they've come a long way with diesel engines.
Yeah, but the problem is the majority of Americans can't afford the America's cheapest car.
Yeah.
Even though it's made overseas, it's an American brand, but the shit's made overseas.
Well, let me tell you, a lot of people that want these diesel pickup trucks like the Power Strokes and the Cummings, they'll realize something. If you got an average job that's mediocre,
you can't afford that.
You can't afford to maintain that engine when it needs what it needs.
Yeah.
I mean,
not only that, they can't afford the vehicle itself.
Yeah, to replace one of those injectors on a Power Stroke is like almost $200 an injector.
A basic Ford F-150 right now is like $60,000.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe that either. Like an XLT 150 is more than the Raptor, almost as much as the Ford Raptor is.
Yeah.
And I said, that's crazy. And the Platinum's even, it's more expensive than the Raptor is.
Yeah, you got to ask the question. And they never do this in business, which they're stupid. Who can afford that? Who has the job that can make the payment and still live a comfortable lifestyle, have a house, bills paid?
You can't. Not like
that.
Do it. It's not back like it was in the day when I owned like 4 vehicles, a house, and a motorcycle. Then them days are gone for the average worker. You can't afford things anymore like that. I mean, yeah, that goes back to a lot of discussion you've had in the past. That American dream is gone.
Yes,
it's gone. There's no more white picket fence.
Yeah, we still have a lot of the younger baby boom generation, the one that were born between 59 and 64. They're the ones that predominantly got screwed out of the deal. I mean, Gen X got screwed. My generation.
That was me. I'm in that category. I was in 62.
Yeah, you're the latter portion of the boom generation.
I'm not going to complain. When I was able to work, Sean, I had a very comfortable life.
Yeah.
Until my knees just gave out. I just couldn't do it anymore.
But a lot of them in your generation act like shamed millionaires, and they never were.
No, my father taught all of us, work hard for what you want. And I didn't do it back then, but I do now. Is I worry about my needs more than my wants. You know. But back then, I was making good money. I was working at the dealership, and then I would come home and do my side work at home. So I was living very comfortably.
Yeah. Aaron, I got to go with Aaron's comment. Aaron, let me show that comment here. Aaron, that might be true, but I don't live a life of excess. Me, I see it as a burden. Why would I want that?
Yeah,
Well, I hardly ever at home in the first place.
yeah.
And if I own three vehicles, when am I ever going to drive them? I own a. Now I outright owned it this like almost 20 years ago. I have an Indian motorcycle. I only got less than 400 miles on it, and most of those miles were put on by my brother-in-law because I said, "Hey, go run my bike." He knows that if something happens to my Indian, I get that antique Triumph he's got. Everybody drools over that antique Triumph.
What is it, a Bonneville?
No, Triumph, a motorcycle.
That's a Triumph. It's called a Bonneville. See,
I don't remember the name, but
it's an old classic Triumph.
yeah, they stopped making the Triumph for years. I mean, everybody wants that bike.
Well, they're making them again now.
Well, yeah, but you got an antique one from back in the day. You got something of value.
Well,
and he rebuilt it.
You know Halfwit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a few live streams where he's got an old Triumph that he's restoring. I think it's like right after World War II.
It's hard because finding parts for him.
Yeah, he's having a hard time finding carburetor parts for it.
Yeah, my brother-in-law removed the engine and put a modern-day engine in it. That's the only thing that's modern on it is the engine.
Yeah, he's done a couple of live streams. He's got everything else done on it. He found tires for it. He found everything else for it. But he's having a hard time finding either a carburetor or a rebuild kit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then it was totally different now. And dealerships do this now. They still do it to this day. All right, they may have a certain manufacturer that made a part for a certain vehicle, but when they deplete that and that company doesn't have any more, they go to other companies that will make that same part. But it's a different manufacturer. All right, so that's the issue when you're looking for stuff like that. Because they will go to different manufacturers to manufacture it.
Mm-hmm. But back to Aaron's comment, the way I was raised, I see all my friends and all the people I live near. They still play that game, keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody's got a camper, a boat, and got all this other crap. Yeah, I could do the same thing. I almost bought an 85-foot yacht. It was 3 stories, had 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, full wet bar, a living room. I mean, it was a nice boat. It was going to be up there in Lake Erie. And I thought, this boat normally would cost, $250,000. They only wanted $14,000 for it. That's because the price of diesel skyrocketed, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and they were one of them. So they had to really lower the price of that boat. And I said, JB, I got that. Jailbird was his name. He's another driver. He's a lot like my dad. He goes, you ought to buy that, Sean. And we were looking at boats because he's got one. And I'm like, I almost did. I almost went to the bank and pulled the cash out, and voila, I would have had that boat. But I saw it as a burden. I'm like, if you can't eat it, wear it, or live under it, because that's what I learned from my dad. Marines are like that, especially your old Marines. If you can't eat it, live under it, or wear it, it ain't worth nothing to me.
See, my dad.
I just see it as a burden.
Yeah, my dad looked at things, and I adopted it. Is if he couldn't afford it in cash, he didn't need it.
Yep.
I mean, he had credit. He had immaculate credit.
Oh, I do too. They're sending me credit cards all the time with a $50,000 limit.
They were doing that with my father.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I break the card and tear it in half.
Yeah.
And I call him up. I said, I'll call you. Don't bother me. Stop sending me this crap.
They're going to send it to you because they have ways of knowing it. So that's why they do that.
Yeah, but somebody could get a hold of that card and activate it, and then it's my ass.
But My father, he did keep one for like when we traveled. He never used it, but he kept it. In case it was an emergency.
I know a lot of my friends have like 20 to 30 freaking credit cards in their
Oh,
wallet, and
dude,
they're all maxed out.
I had a friend that took his wallet and went like that and went, "Rrrt," and
And they're all maxed out.
all he does is when one's maxed out, he pulls money off another one to pay that one off, so he can use that one again. That's how he does it. He juggles the cards back and forth to pay the other cards off.
I'm like, screw that.
And I said, that's no way to freaking live, man.
Yeah, the only thing I ever got on credit was my house and my truck. But my truck is paid for.
Yeah, my house was the only thing that I any vehicle I've ever owned, I've owned outright.
And I'm thinking about buying my house out early, but I was told not to. It's not a good idea.
Well, no, I mean, if you buy it out, well, for two reasons, I would say. Well, one would be the more that you make your payments, your credit's just going to get better. I mean, because you're making payments. And the other reason, the housing market's not all that hot right now.
Nope, it's still sinking.
Yeah,
I'm waiting until it falls flat on its ass, and then I might buy another house.
I mean, I actually was reading an article where people that from the last time the foreclosures and the crash, finding it's easier and cheaper to rent than it is to own a home.
To an extent, but here's the deal. I was looking at houses in the Vegas area, the surrounding greater Las Vegas area. There's a lot of houses there for like $500,000. Your typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath, villa, and they wanted like $500,000 for it. Well, that was last year. Now they're asking $320,000.
Oh, dude, my brother now. Go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
Well, the prices are going to crash. They're going to get worse because it was overinflated. It was overinflated. These houses are overpriced.
Yeah, my brother, it's been over 30-something years now. This is the one who retired and is down in South Carolina now. I think when he bought that house on a lot, they built it. And I think back then when he bought it, it was like $250,000 or $300,000. He lived in it his entire career, working at the post office until he retired. When he retired, he sold that house. He got over $1 million something for it. He sold his other condo in, I think it's in Orange, Virginia, because he liked to ski.
You have to watch where you're going to be living, and here's why.
Oh, dude, he's a CPA, so he's smart like that.
Robert, remember how people used to retire, and a lot of them moved down to Florida. Mm-hmm. That was tradition, okay? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody retired, they moved to Florida, whatever. But that changed 30 years ago. 30 years ago, everybody started to go to Phoenix or going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas is 3 times, almost 4 times larger than it was 30 years ago.
There's a lot of people I've heard been going to New Mexico too, Sean.
Well, that's new.
Yeah.
They're all starting to leave the Phoenix area because a lot of them can't afford the houses anymore, or there's an issue with the water. Because once Lake Mead is dried up, you ain't going to get no water in Vegas. So you're going to want to live there. It's going to turn it into a ghost town.
It'll be a desert. I'd say that's what it was before they built it.
In about 20 years, a lot of people, you probably ain't going to see anybody living there because there's going to be no water. Lake Mead is way, way down. And once it runs out of water, it's a dead area because you're not going to be able to get any water. And you know how much it's going to cost to have to truck water in? Now, the best thing to do would be to pipe it.
Yeah,
pipe oil from across continents. We can pump water too.
Yeah, they'll truck it for a while, but they would make a pipeline, which would put more strain on the areas that are providing that water.
But everybody that relies on Lake Mead and the Colorado River, yeah, if things don't change.
Yeah, but the Colorado River,
Oops.
dude, you can look at the Colorado River and see how much it shrunk. I mean, the Colorado River used to be a massive, beautiful river, and it's, in terms of what it used to be like, it's a creek now.
Yeah, they some people do YouTube videos. They
Yeah,
go walk out by Lake Mead, and they're standing there, and they're showing you where the boat docks used to be. He
yeah.
said like five years ago, we used to launch our boats from here, and it's like 20, 30 feet in the air. There was the boat landing.
I'm trying to remember. I know who you're talking about because I've watched a couple of his videos on it, where he goes out to Lake Mead. It shows you where the water line used to be and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But that's just not here, dude. We got that stuff happening here in Virginia too, dude.
Water is really not an issue except for like Detroit, the Ohio River now that's been poisoned thanks to that train derailment. Bunch of fucking idiots.
Well, the Potomac was like that for years, dude, around D.C. I mean, when I used to go fishing on the Potomac, I wouldn't eat anything that was on the Virginia side out of the water. I would fish above everything in the Maryland. If I caught something out of there, I would eat the fish, but I wouldn't eat anything that was come down out of Maryland and into the Virginia side and D.C. side. Because the water was so nasty and polluted.
Yeah, when the Dow Chemical Company poisoned the Hudson, that's when I was like, me and my family, we stopped fishing. I'm going to eat that.
You know, they had a big controversy about on that maybe 8 years ago with Purdue, because Purdue they got a plant up there in Maryland.
Yeah, you see all that water out there?
Yeah, I see it.
The water over there? Yeah, that's good. Look at that. There used to not be water here. They were complaining because these are all the fields and orchards where a lot of fruits and veggies get grown. There's an orchard right there.
Yeah.
But it's good that California got all that rain and water. Yeah, it flooded, and some, of the farmland got affected. Yes, and yet I'll take it because we need all that water that they got. Maybe not this year, but next year the crops are going to be really good next year because all that water we got here in California.
Yeah.
And the yields are going to be a lot better too. But the viaducts in LA, they're totally slap full. And it was like, good. They need that because I haven't seen water in the viaducts in 15 years. Kids are going swimming. It's like, way. Haven't done this in years. And some of the kids go, I didn't know water went down there. What's the viaduct for? They learned that because none of the kids ever seen it before.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Virginia's starting to have its issues with water now too. But yeah, what I was saying about Purdue is about 8 or so years ago, they got into a bunch of crap because one of their plants, they got caught for dumping stuff into the river. Purdue was known for being, I guess, what do you call it, environment friendly and all that stuff. But
like I mentioned in that live stream I did when I was coming out of Twin Falls and I was in Wells, Nevada.
mm-hmm.
That's true. I've never had anybody of Spanish descent hurt me, steal from me,
Mm-hmm.
talk shit to me. None of them have ever bothered me. I've had nothing but good things from Spanish people, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, all of them. I lived around a bunch of them. They were great people. They were willing to help you more than any other friend would. The only people that's really ever hurt me or called me names or tried to affect my life is white people.
Huh.
Mostly the Australians, not all of them, but a good, a handful of them.
I don't lump them all together. There's a certain ones that are like that.
Yeah, but I over here in the states, I'm hearing them always talking about, oh, okay, they already did the math. We're going to go ahead and give you 11 million illegals that are probably here from the Central America and South America. Okay, 11 million out of 330 million, and they're breaking our economy. No, not at all.
Dude, I'm gonna quote word for word a Latino man that I worked with. He served in the Marine Corps, was a Marine,
A lot of them did.
was living in American civilian life, raising a family, and he made a comment one day when we were watching the news about MS-13 and all this stuff coming over here and the crime, and he made a comment. He said, excuse my French. He said, motherfuckers like that, or we'll make it look bad for people like me that are here doing the right thing.
Yeah. See, but politically they were lumping them all together.
Yeah, and that's
like there's a massive amount of them, and there's not.
Because he's Latin, they were trying to lump him into that, and he said that's what makes hardworking Latinos like me look bad for what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
times are changing.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them that used to be MS-13 from El Salvador. That's where they're from. That's where M13 comes from. Is El Salvador, and a lot of them work in there'll probably be one that'll unload my truck. That is former MS-13.
Well, I think I've already told you once before. The nearest MS-13 to me, you got to go into Prince William County. That's it. That's out in Manassas, Woodbridge, out in that area, and they're real thick there, very thick.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of them, but they're very low key. Is the cartel. And the cartel is very low key, but I'll tell you what, I know a lot of cartel members, and I get treated very nicely and very respectably.
But Prince William County actually created a whole different part of the police force to deal with them, because at one time they were so bad. Killing people, not beating them up, killing them.
Yeah. Well, the cartel, you go across the border and show your ass, they'll probably show you the door. But if you come with too much of a problem, you will get dealt with. But you go down there and you have a good time, you're well protected.
I mean, I came across a couple of them when I was there.
Because you don't mess with the cartel's money. And when I cross the border, I'm the cartel's money. And you don't mess with me. Because I had cartel members taking these beggars away, wrapping their arms around them, taking them away from me. And I remember Pappy said that was a cartel member that took him away. I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, you're going to have a good time down here. You're safe. The cartel is going to make sure you are safe. So, but you show your ass, you're going to get shown the door. And depending on the degree how much you show your ass, you're going to get dealt with.
And then we'll look at what's his name. What was it, Escobar? I mean, yeah, he was a terror when he had to be. But if you look at what he did for Panama, I mean, the man had a generous heart on top of it. I mean, he was the biggest dealer that I've ever known was Pablo Escobar.
But coca's legal there. But it's just illegal here in the States.
But when they took him to, you got to go to prison. Yeah, he went to prison. He put the money to build it, and he paid the guards when he was in prison.
I would have done the same thing because business-wise, you're going to get killed. You go to any other prison.
Yeah,
you're a target, and you're going to get killed.
Yeah, I mean, he paid to have a prison built that he owned with guards that he paid. And then in the end, he knew that people were trying to topple him, and the government was after him, and that's when he went on the run. And but a lot of it's just going back to what you were saying. He gave a lot back. I don't want to say that drug dealing is right, what he was doing, but he gave back to the community and he helped a lot of people.
I hate to say this, but they need to legalize it, and here's why. It gets rid of the incentive to make millions of dollars of illegally trafficking it in, whatever you're trying to do. It
Mhm.
gets rid of that. And it makes like pot. Pot's worth next to nothing. You used to sell a bag of it for a couple $100s. But now you get $20. It's really cheap now because it's legal.
Mhm.
It's easy to get.
So like I
But
said,
you're like, well, a lot of people are going to die. Yeah, we got a lot of people dying of fentanyl and meth, and it's illegal. But we got a lot of people doing it.
yeah,
I call that passive eugenics.
fentanyl is probably the big issue now.
It's sad, but I call it eugenics. You need to
Yeah,
teach your kids.
yeah,
My kids already know it's stupid shit to do.
yeah. Fentanyl is probably the biggest issue right now, the biggest problem, especially the stuff that's coming out of China because it's so pure and so strong.
How do they
Yeah,
know it's coming out of China?
yeah, and it is so strong that the people that are using it are not respecting it, and they're overdosing on it.
Well, they've been overdosing on fentanyl for the past 10 years.
Well,
It's really bad. But they're
and
lacing it with other shit
yeah,
now, making it worse.
yeah, they're lacing it. They're lacing the heroin with it.
Yeah, well, they're doing that over here, not
Yeah,
over there.
yeah, and that's why here in D.C. they had so many. I'm talking young kids. First time they ever tried it, overdose and die.
Yeah, but mostly your meth is coming out of Mexico, not China.
Yeah, I'm talking about the heroin here. You got the kids in D.C. that I see. I saw it on the news all the time, and the dealers are cutting it with fentanyl, and these kids are taking huge shots of the stuff, and it's killing them the first time they ever try it.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. It's that stuff that they inject you with when you OD'd on fentanyl. It doesn't work anymore because of what they're lacing the shit with now.
Narcon.
Narcon, that's it. Yeah, Narcon isn't working to revive these people because they're lacing it with other shit now.
Yeah, Narcon is just made to pretty much put you in automatic withdrawal. It pulls it right out of your system. It blocks all the receptors.
But one of my students was a part of rescue up in upstate New York. He wasn't making the kind of money he wanted to make, though, but he was part of rescue. He said the majority of the calls they would get were not fires or rescuing anybody. It was to help somebody that OD'd that's laying on the sidewalk or the road or whatever to revive them.
I had that happen right out front of my house in Falls Church. I looked out my front window and I saw a guy laying on the curb next to the road in the grass. I go out there and he wasn't responsive at all. And then the police showed up and the ambulance showed up. As soon as they hit him with that Narcon, he started coming out of it. He OD'd. He'd shot up and he OD'd right there and fell out in the grass. So,
needles don't bother me. Inject myself.
Yeah.
Stick a needle in myself. I couldn't do it.
I never. I'm not gonna lie. I've smoked pot in the past and stuff like that, but I never did anything hard like that.
Yeah, but that's not compared to this heavy shit.
Yeah, I did nothing heavy like that. I never got into it. I lost a lot of friends that did it, especially when crack cocaine emerged. I mean, I lost a lot of friends that I grew up with. One of them was pretty sad. He was homeless. His family wanted nothing to do with him, and they found him dead in an abandoned apartment. He froze to death.
Jesus.
I mean, that's. Like I said, I watched a lot of good friends die from that stuff when that first came out. I mean, I'm old enough to remember those days, so. And then, like you said, you were talking about crystal meth. That's another one that if you go on Google and Google that stuff, it'll show you before and after pictures of people that are on that shit, and you wouldn't believe what they look like.
Oh yeah, a lot of your prostitutes that once more roam the streets.
Oh my God! I
You're
mean,
like, that girl is 28 years old, but she looked like she was 80.
yeah. I mean, you look at the pictures; they look like they're 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're only like 20 or 30 years old. I mean, that's how hard that drug is on you.
And
And
their face looks like a skull.
yeah, I mean, it's a horrible drug, dude. It is. It's bad. I mean, when I was out in the Midwest for a while, I was really surprised how bad and how rampant that drug was out in the Midwest. That was the preferred thing out there was meth. And I think somewhere out in Hawaii, it's the same thing, but they call it ice.
Uh,
But it's real bad in Hawaii too. Or it used to be anyway. I don't know if it still is. But like I said, I never got into any of that hard stuff. It's just
they busted some woman. I've never met this woman before. Didn't recognize her. They busted her with a bunch of methamphetamine, and she lived in New Madison, where I live, and all the kids that my kids go to school with. I threatened the kid that was from Greenville that was peddling that shit. I had caught him, and I said, "You're going to tell the police?" I said, "No, but I tell you, the next time I see you here dealing, I will kill you." I said, "There's a lot of children that live in this town. You're not going to bring the devil into town here. You keep it in Greenville."
yeah. I could say one thing: I am blessed and I am happy that my daughter never got into that. Never grew up, never did it in high school, never did it as an adult. She drinks occasionally and smokes cigarettes, but she never got into doing drugs.
But this kid knew I was dead serious. I mean, what is he going to do? Call the police on me? You threatened to kill me. Why did he threaten to kill you? So stop dealing meth. He just turned himself in.
Well, you got to understand where I live. I mean, I don't know what major city you live near to. I live right next to D.C.
I live exactly between Indianapolis and Dayton.
So you can imagine what goes through this D.C. metropolitan area. I mean, if it's out there, you can find it somewhere in this area.
Mm-hmm. But the majority of the population of the United States is where you live, all the way up to Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
That's where the majority of the population of the United States is.
They call my area, they call it the DMV. Because it's D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
Yeah, New York State is totally barren people, almost. But New York City, in the state of New York, they're just stacking people on top of people. If nobody wants to move.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I love and I'm proud that I was born and raised in Chicago, but I'll probably never live there again. Too many people.
Well, I visited Chicago. It's a beautiful city, but I wouldn't want to live there.
If I ever did live there, it would be in Wrigleyville.
I mean, I forget the town that's right before you get into Chicago. What's the name of that?
Where are you coming from? What interstate?
It's like you're coming up from Indiana.
That's Gary, Indiana, and Hammond, Indiana.
And then there's another place that starts with a P.
Oh, shit, I don't know that. The first town
why I can't remember. It's only like 20-minute drive to Chicago.
Yeah. Well, the first town you'll come across if you're on I-80, which you're beyond coming from Indiana into Chicago, the first town you come across is Calumet City. It's where the Bruise Brothers were from.
All I remember is I went to a lot of farm country, and I went to It seemed like for miles and miles and miles of the electric windmills.
You came out of the South then.
Yeah, I was
There's
coming up.
wind.
I was coming down from up from Indiana up that way. It was coming. Indiana's below where I was going.
Indiana is east of Illinois.
Yeah, I know that, but I was coming up south from where I'm going. I was down in a part of Indiana that was down south.
Evansville, Indiana.
No, Linton. Nearest big city to Linton, big city, would be Terre Haute.
Oh, okay. You probably cut over to I-57 and took it north towards Chicago. You went into Illinois, right?
Yeah, because I remember
Okay.
going when I went through farm country and I started seeing those electric generating windmills and
Yeah, that's south of Kankakee and Bourbonnais and Bradley. That's where my second eldest sister lives.
a lot
She's
of
the only one
farm,
that stayed in the area.
a lot of farm country and a lot of those windmill generating.
Majority of the corn that is grown in the state of Illinois.
What got me, man, is once I got past all those windmills, the GPS was taking me some crazy, whacked out ways. I mean, taking me through like tiny, teeny towns, turn here, go a mile there, turn here, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, come on now. I mean, it took me probably the longest way to get up there toward where I was going.
Going to Chicago, I'd have took 57. Most likely where you were going was probably on the west side of Chicago, so I'd have got on 80 and then took 294 on the west side of Chicago.
Well, when I met with my friend, like I said, he lives about 20 minutes from downtown Chicago, and I can't remember where he is. It's a town or a county, whatever you want to call it.
Let's see, there's Hensdale, there's Des Plaines, there's Cicero, Arlington Heights. There was the Jewish community, but it's not the Jewish community anymore. It was where Santa's Village is. I had a brain fart. It'll come to me. Skokie, that was predominantly Jewish in my day when I was a kid. Not so much anymore, I don't think.
If you bark off names, I'll know. I'll remember the name when you say it. But
there's Oak Park.
But
oh my God,
it literally is not more than 15 or 20 miles from Chicago. You get on the interstate and you're in Chicago.
There's West Chicago.
And it may be considered, because it's so close, it may be considered part of the suburbs of Chicago.
There's a lot of suburbs of Chicago. But Wrigleyville, I would like to live maybe a block or two from Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
But you're talking big money. They abandoned all the apartments and moved everybody out back in the late 80s.
God, I can't remember.
And converted them into nightclubs. But some of the floors have been abandoned since then.
Yeah, I cannot remember, and I don't know why I cannot remember the name where he lives. God, it's going to drive me crazy. And you'll end your live stream and I'll remember. But I stayed up there probably with him for a week because I wanted to go into Chicago and see the sights, to see the museums and
Museum of Science and Industry and the Stratosphere, Navy Pier, all that stuff. Yeah.
I wanted to see all the sights there. It's a beautiful city, like I said, but I would not want to live there.
Hey, right next to Grant Park and Soldier Field.
Yeah, I would not want to live in that city, just like I wouldn't want to live in New York.
Did you see the Buckingham Fountain where the big bean is?
Yeah, I saw. He took me everywhere. We spent like 4 or so days going through the whole entire city. Like I said, he was so close that we go spend like a day there and then go back and then wake up and go back the next day.
Yeah, Comiskey Park's about a mile south of Soldier Field, maybe not even a mile. But Wrigley Field's way on the north side.
Yeah,
just go straight up to Dan Ryan on the other side of downtown and get off at West Addison Street. Make a right, take you right to Wrigley. Or you can park at McCormick, which is a big parking garage down there by Soldier Field, and walk through Grant Park and take the L train. That's what we did when I was a kid. We up in Cicero visiting my dad. Take the L train for 50 cents. Go to Wrigley Field. Get in the bleachers for $2.50. Can't do that anymore. Cheapest seat I saw, and this was like 4 years ago. Cheapest seat was $85 in the bleachers.
I'm trying to look it up, and I can't remember the name of it at all.
And it's because they're handing out all these multi-million-dollar contracts to these baseball players and up the price to everything, and it's like ridiculous. Yeah. Some of these legendary baseball players didn't even make a fraction of what these guys are making, and they were so much better. Like Babe Ruth, the legend. You know, he had the home run record. Him and fuck, I forgot the other guy's name. He played for the Yankees. They had the home run record. They went at it together. But Babe Ruth did that eating hot dogs and drinking a lot of beer and smoking cigars.
Yep. It was beer and cigars.
There was no such thing as steroids back then.
He was just a big guy that could hit. He was just natural at the game. Yeah, I can't. I'm not finding it. I'm trying to Google it.
It ended right around the late 80s when Ozzie Smith was one of the last of my generation that retired, that would go and talk to the fans that are right by the wall, that would come down to talk to them or sign autographs. People don't know about that. I said, yeah, when I was a kid, you went down there during warm-ups before pregame, and you went down there and you had something in your hand with a pen. Anything. It could be anything. The players would come over. You want me to sign that? And they would, without question.
Well, not now. They
won't do.
You got a bunch of more. They want money. Just like I said, we brought Joe Theismann up earlier now, and I grew up in this area, and I met him once. He opened a few restaurants in this area, and I got to meet him in person one time. He's actually not a nice person at all. He's actually a dick.
Yeah, I told my son, if you ever make it to the MLB or the NFL, you sign that autograph for that kid, and you talk to them, and you be nice. I said, that's the way I was raised. That's the way I would have done things. I would have said, screw what the contract says or what my agent is telling me. No, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm here signed this contract to play baseball for this team, and I'm just playing for the fans, which the owners would be very happy to do. You know, you're doing that for the kids. That's what it was supposed to be all about. But they all got blinded by money, and it's ridiculous.
Well, that's what football turned the same way. Football turned the same way, brother.
The last most beloved player that was for the fans, and he wasn't afraid to jump into the crowd, was Michael Jackson. Played for the Browns, #1. I remember that last game in Cleveland when they knew they were going to move to Baltimore. He tore his jersey and helmet off and ran and jumped into the dog pound. They loved him. And he retired after that anyway. He wasn't going to play for Baltimore. That wasn't going to happen. He was a lifelong Brown, Cleveland Brown. And to me, that was, I felt sorry for all my friends that were Browns fans when that happened. And that's why Art Modell never showed his face again in that area. Because they were going to kill him. But he ends up dying a couple years later anyway. But like the Raiders, the Raider name, that's like a girl breaking up with you twice. The Oakland Raiders left Oakland for LA became the LA Raiders, I think, for like 8 seasons, and then moved back to Oakland
and then
for
Las Vegas.
now they're in Las Vegas. I'm like, keep the Raider name in Oakland, rename the Vegas team something else, like they did the Browns. They did the same thing with the Nashville team. The first year they were called the Nashville Oilers. That's why that jersey, if you can find one that was made then, it's worth a lot of money, because the first year they were called the Oilers. It was the second year they switched to the Titans name.
I forget the player that the Oilers had. He didn't last very long. What was his name? Big dude.
Earl Campbell, number 34.
Yeah, and the one that used to do the Skull commercials.
Yeah, he was a legendary running back for them.
Yeah, I remember that one commercial where he says, "Skull, my brother." When he did the Skull chewing the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But his career was pretty short-lived. He took a beating there. That's why his career was short-lived. He tore his knees and hips up.
Yeah, I'm going to end here in about 15, 20 minutes, because I got to get fuel here at I believe it's either a Pilot or a Flying J at exit 157.
Yeah, because I'm probably going to be making something to eat here shortly, and I'm going to probably do some video myself today. I'm going to go out and walk my neighborhood, do some video.
But I like picking on the Yankee fans. They'll never admit that. They will never accept it. The Yankees, in their history, are the original Baltimore Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never admit to that, and it's true.
No, it's just like baseball. A lot of people, you ask somebody today that isn't an avid baseball player, baseball fan, they couldn't tell you.
I'm one of those.
They couldn't tell you where the Dodgers originally came from.
Brooklyn. And so did the San Francisco Giants. They came from New York.
Yeah.
The New York Giants.
Yeah.
They played in the old Polo Grounds. But the Yankees, okay, were originally the original Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles moved out of Baltimore and went to New York and became the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, how the Baltimore Orioles came back was this. The Baltimore Orioles that we know of today were originally the St. Louis Browns. That's why they have the same colors, orange. Because the St. Louis Browns were orange.
Yeah, orange and black.
Yeah. They moved to Baltimore and became the Orioles again. Well, they brought the Orioles name back, but that's the original St. Louis Browns. And one funny thing is about the Washington Senators. First time they moved to Minnesota, St. Paul, and became the Twins. Then they brought the Senators back through an adoption. They lasted, I think, 3 or 4 years. They packed up and moved to Texas and became the Rangers. So those two teams, the Twins and Rangers, are the first two teams that were the Washington Senators. Now they're
a little before my time.
And then the Montreal Expos moved to Washington and become the Nationals.
Well, the Nationals got a big following there.
And there's a lot of teams that moved around a lot. The Boston Braves moved to Milwaukee, became the Milwaukee Braves, and then later on moved to Atlanta and became the Atlanta Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Milwaukee Braves had a big following, okay? Big following. And they moved to Atlanta, and they were screaming for a team. There was a young Major League Baseball team out here in Seattle called the Pilots that moved to Milwaukee and became the Brewers. Now, the Chicago Cubs went through a couple of name changes. You know, the Whales, they were in the Federal League, which was different. It's a professional baseball. The MLB didn't exist when they first formed. But the Cubs, original Cubs team, the Whales, are the original Cincinnati Reds, which was the first professional team back in 1865. They moved from Cincinnati to Chicago and became the Whales, and then the Orphans, and then they had that contest where that kid won it, and the Chicago Tribune to rename the team the Cubs.
Well, Chicago's got a couple of teams, doesn't it? The Cubs and
The Sox.
the Sox. Yeah.
Uh-huh. White Sox almost moved to Tampa years ago.
Yeah, I
They
remember.
threatened to move to Tampa, so they built them that new Comiskey Park across the interstate.
Yeah, I think Cardinals is what created the Devil Rays. Because where St. Louis used to practice in St. Petersburg, when the Devil Rays came and they made that team, the Cardinals weren't there anymore. That's where Tampa Bay Devil Rays did their spring training.
Nobody used that stadium they originally built for the White Sox, which is still being used today. It's where the Devil Rays play. The White Sox were going to be playing there when they moved to Tampa, but they didn't. They ended up building them new Comiskey Park.
That's what I love about. That's what I love about. Sorry, go ahead.
That dome stadium remained empty for years until they got the Devil Rays and they play in there. But it's so old now.
Yeah, when I was down there when they did that. When they took the old stadium, gutted it out, and rebuilt it for when the Devil Rays had their opening season.
Now they're just called the Rays.
Yeah, and the owner was actually a really nice guy. From my understanding, all the guys that did like work on the stadium and laborers and stuff like that, he let them come in for free the first game.
I like how he did that. The name of the team was the Devil Rays.
Yeah.
But he had a eureka moment when he's getting old, and he had a eureka moment and decided we're just going to call them the Rays and drop the devil part.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to design the jerseys in honor of the famous Negro League team called the Grays. If you look at the Rays and the Grays, the logo, they're almost virtually identical in design.
Well, I remember their very first uniforms had the devil, a ray on their shirt and on their hats. But when you first walked into that stadium, it was cool the way I remember it. When I went to the first game, that's an awesome stadium. It's got a baseball player coming out of the wall, like from the waist, like huge, with his arms stretched out trying to catch a fly ball.
I'm wondering who's going to play the Field of Dream game this year. They're doing that every year now. The Cubs played and won that game. What's funny is the first game was the Yankees and White Sox, and the White Sox won it. Last year was the second game, and it was the Cubs. I can't remember who they played, but the Cubs won it. They played on the actual field that they filmed that movie, The Field of Dreams, and every year Kevin Costner comes out of the field first, and then the players come out behind him, and then he makes his speech or whatever. It's brilliant. I almost went to that game last year, but you're not going to get a seat in that place for less than $15,000 because you only can fit a couple thousand people there.
They keep that. Sorry, I don't want to see it that bad.
Yeah, but that's history in the making of playing a baseball game there, the Field of Dreams. That was a good movie, along with 42. 42, most inspirational movie that they made about baseball, the Jackie Robinson story.
Oh yeah, I remember watching that one they did.
And not only that, what amazed me is they computerly generated Ebbets and Ford Field that don't exist. They haven't existed in probably 50 years, some of these stadiums. But the guy who they were playing the game, they said it was funny that they were playing on a field, but there were blue screens surrounding them because they had to mat in the actual stadium. I wonder how they computerly generated it and make it look so authentic, though.
They can do anything now, computer generated.
Yeah, but there's no color photos or film of Ford's Field and Ebbets Field because it didn't exist when it had existed.
Well, I mean, they can look at the blueprints and they can then take it from there and recreate it on the computer.
Yeah, but it's in black and white. It's not. It's not in color. How did they know what color the scoreboard was, or this or that?
Because they can look at the manufacturer stuff that what was bought for the stadiums and find out what
Well,
color
yeah,
the
that
stuff
could be
was, and they can regenerate it in the computer. I mean, that guy that does that show, American Restoration, he doesn't have a clue what some of this stuff was originally colored. He has to go do research on it and dig stuff up from the original manufacturers to see what colors were on some of the stuff that he restores. But yeah, they can find out what color paints were used and what stone or whatever, you know.
But I get a lot of flack from the people I live around because they're Reds fans for the most part, and they're still barking about having Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I said it's never going to happen.
Yeah, well,
They do that. They're opening a can of worms because there were a lot of legends that won or that were in the World Series against the Reds in 1919, where they threw the World Series. I said there were a lot of legends on that White Sox team that never were kicked out of baseball. And I said two of them didn't take a dime in that. They were asked to be involved, but they didn't want to be involved. Buck Weaver, the third baseman, was one of them. Because during court, he yelled, he said, I want a separate trial. I was batting over 300 in the series. He was batting better then than he did during the regular season. And Shoeless Joe. Shoeless Joe, he said, I just want to play baseball.
Shoeless Joe Jackson.
I just want to play baseball. That's all he was about. I grew up with a couple of boys that were like that. They were more diehard than I was about baseball. There were always the ones that woke up early in the morning, went around knocking on doors. Hey, grab your glove, man, let's go. Go out there and play a game. That's why I relate to that movie Sandlot so much.
We used to do in my neighborhood every Thanksgiving. We would get out in the backyard and play football before Thanksgiving dinner. All the guys I grew up in my neighborhood. That was tradition. We did that every year. I remember one year we went out there. Oh my God, I about froze to death. It was so cold out there. God, that brings back some memories, dude, with stuff we used to do back then.
The interesting thing is we played some baseball games in places you would not think that you actually played a ball game here. How did you not put a window out? None of us ever put a window out. We even talk about that, like that was, 40 years ago. Yeah, we talk about it. I'm like, I wonder how we never put a window out with all the glass that we were around.
God, we used to do the football. We would, God, I remember we used to do a lot of things back then when I was growing up. I mean, I was very fortunate kind of the area we were growing up in because when I was going to elementary school, I could walk to school. When I went to middle school, I could walk to school. But when I went to high school, I had to take a bus.
Yeah. What made us exceptional baseball players was we didn't have no age limit. When we played a game, you were playing, elementary school kids playing against adults. Okay? We didn't go by age. Hey, you're going to be in the game. Hey, let's go. I am. They got me pitching the ball to these adults. Okay, I'd pitch the ball, and as soon as I threw the ball, I'd be laying on the ground. I was only like 8 years old, but I could bring the heat. But they had me pitching the ball, and I'm like laying on the ground because I didn't want to get my head took off.
Well, they had a bunch of those for kids in my area that before you were still in elementary school. but elementary school doesn't really have football teams and stuff like that in Virginia. So they had other organizations that created like Pee Wee football leagues and stuff like that.
My son's played. Let's see here, two. That's 2, 4, 6. Excuse me. My son's played football since the 2nd grade.
Yeah, I think I started playing when I was in the 4th grade. And then I got to middle school. We didn't have football in middle school either. I couldn't play football until I got into high school.
Mm-hmm. That's why my son's first year, he was out there in high school. I'm going to hit somebody when you do it. Yelling at him from the sidelines. They put him in. Freshmen rarely got to play. That's the way it's always is. When they put him in, man, he cracked that kid. He was like, whoa. I said, Junior, you're not that little boy anymore. Look, you're almost the same height as your dad now.
Yeah, I remember.
I didn't realize I was that strong.
There's some big kids that I played around, man. That's like I said, that was the beginning of my knee problems. Being a running back, that's where they went. They went for my legs and my knees to take me out.
I wish I had that on film. I got everything else, but I wish I would have got that hit. My son laid down on that kid, hit him in the backfield. You heard the pop, and everybody went, ooh, like that. Junior got up. He's like, yeah. As soon as the quarterback handed the ball up to the running back, my son was there, and it was like crack, boom. That's how quickly it was. I said, Junior, did anybody touch you coming through the line? He said, no, I wasn't even touched. He went right through the line, bam. He goes, all I did was watch the ball. I saw he handed it off to that running back, so I just...
That's what they teach him to do.
I told my son, I said, you just don't go in there blind. Keep your eye on the ball because the ball's going to move around. Like if they do an end around, you think it's going one way and it goes the other. You keep your eye on that ball. My son's very good at reading the play.
A big old RP. Was that a pace arrow?
Yeah. I told him, I said, son, you read the ball better than I do. Better than I did. He goes, I ain't going to fall for all that old trick.
Huh.
So, I mean, he knows it when they're going to do an ending around. And he goes right into that kid, kapow. I never forget it when he busted up that flea flicker they tried. He said, yeah, I told Junior, I said, Junior, you should have caught that ball instead of just knocking it away. See, when the quarterback runs up and then he throws it back to the running back,
mm-hmm.
or no, the running back runs to the line and then tosses the ball back to the quarterback. Yeah, well, my son was coming through the line. He was going after the running back, and the ball came out. And he said he thought it was a fumble at first, but he just swatted the ball and knocked it to the ground. And then he thought, damn, I should have caught that. I said, that's not your job. Your job is just to bust the play up. You did your job.
Well, it's always nice if they can get one in and actually run it in. That's cool.
But see, when my son's core team, they're the same age he is, when they're the youngest, they don't do as well. But when they're the oldest, they're undefeated. Like when my son's a junior and senior in high school, they'll probably go undefeated state champs.
Because they played the entire up the ladder.
Yeah, they playing against the same kids they've been playing against their whole life.
And plus, they had the older kids ahead of them learning from them.
And they none of these teams came close. I mean, the game was over by the first quarter.
I was on watching a few of your son's games.
Yeah,
Seeing
but they were
some
freshmen.
some of the scores. I said, my God. I said, that's
And I told,
basketball scores.
yeah, and I said, Junior, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of playtime next year, but you're going to go in a little more than you did this year because freshmen you rarely get to play. But you being a sophomore next year, you're going to see some playtime. When you're a junior, you're definitely going to be playing. When you're a senior, you're going to be playing all the time
Yeah.
because there's no denying. And I've been an advocate because a lot of our head coaches that do well, like the head coach we got now, he'll probably head coach our football team next year. But after that, some college is going to pick him up and say, hey, come with us. Because if you're that good as a high school coach, you're going places. Because we had two other coaches that now coach at, one of them went to Miami University, Miami of Ohio, as a defensive coordinator. And the other one that we had before last year, he went to University of Ohio, not the Buckeyes, the other one out of Athens,
Mm-hmm.
as an offensive coordinator. The guy that we got is going to probably end up going to a university somewhere after next year if they do well. They won't stick around. But I told them instead of hiring these people, bring up our Pee Wee coaches because the boys already know these coaches, and they're good too. The Pee Wee coaches we had. And the Pee Wee coaches know me already. They're like, you're too harsh. I said, no, you guys are too easy. I don't want this to be easy on my son. You run his ass until it falls off. I want him to get the same treatment I got. Yeah, they ran your ass off when I played.
Mm-hmm.
Literally fell off, man. But we were in the best shape of our lives, and that's why we were so good. No. You're being too easy. That's why after every football practice when I was home, I took Junior back out onto the field and I ran his ass.
Huh.
The coaches were out there looking. He goes, what'd you do that for? I said, he wasn't sweating and he wasn't breathing heavy. Now look at him. I said, our assholes were sucking buttermilk all the time out there on that field. If you were a fat kid coming on our football team, by the end of that first year, you lost all that weight you had. There were no fat asses on our team because they burnt it all off. Because hell, man, the defensive coordinator we had, man, Coach Allen, he was a former Marine. He was out there. He treated us just like Marines too. We're out there at football camp at 3:00 in the morning, still pushing that damn sled around. He goes, come on, get up, boy. Y'all got all tomorrow to look forward to.
Yeah, it's just like the Marine Corps motto, brother. Pain is weakness, leaving the body.
Yeah, that's why we had a very badass defense.
Yeah.
I was out there.
Yeah, I remember I had a Marine buddy that gave me one of those shirts that had the Marine Corps logo on the front, and on the back it said, pain is weakness, leaving the body.
But there was one time, and they were going to run a news story on it. But the guy who was running the story was the uncle of one of the players on my team.
Mm-hmm.
They were claiming that a lot of us were taking steroids, and I'm like, no, we're eating a lot of beef. I know that because my mom wouldn't let me have potatoes, no carbs, none of that shit. We ate a lot of beef. We had a lot of protein, and I think my mom gave me a multivitamin. That was it. They actually tested us all. And we all came up negative. They're like, no, we don't take steroids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, come on
They did. They thought we were all taking steroids. Like, hell no. But we're in the weight room. We would act like, all the famous WWE wrestlers, stop clowning around. The famous one was acting like Macho Man Randy Savage.
Sorry, just deciding what I'm going to eat here. Well, you said you're getting ready to stop and not stop anyway, right? I'll wait until you end your stream.
And a couple miles here, I'll be pulling in to get fuel at that truck stop before I take this load in. But I see my son working out in the weight room all year round now, and the boys are in there. They're doing the same thing we did. Because some of them watch WWE and they're acting like their favorite wrestlers, like John Cena or some crap like that.
Mm-hmm.
My son likes acting like Ron Simmons. I'm like, Junior, he stopped wrestling when you were a little boy. Because I like Ron Simmons.
That's an old name. That's definitely an old name. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Well, he liked Ron Simmons because he was a Florida Seminole, and that's where my son wants to go play football.
A lot of people didn't know about The Rock. The Rock used to play for Miami Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Before he had injury to, I think, his one of his legs, his knee, and then he couldn't go pro. And that's when he went into pro wrestling.
Rocky Maivia, he was with the Nation of Domination, which was led by Ron Simmons. He went by Farouk. Yeah. Rocky Maivia was the Intercontinental Champion, talking a lot of shit, and he went to Mean Gene Okerlund. I want to talk to the leader of the Nation of Domination. Ron Simmons is about ready to speak, and Rocky Maivia grabs the mic and starts talking, and Ron Simmons grabs the mic from him and says, "You're just begging me to whip your ass, ain't you?" He goes, "Everybody listens to me. If I tell him to kick anybody's ass, it's by any means necessary."
Well, that's what I mean. But The Rock's father was a wrestler.
Oh yeah,
and his mother was a wrestler too.
I didn't know the mother was.
Yeah, she was Samoan.
Well, they're all related.
Yeah.
Rikishi, Yokozuna, all those famous ones. They were all related. They're cousins.
Well, I mean, The Rock was related to the twins too. Or not the twins, the brothers. I mean.
Well, Samoa Joe. Well, I thought that was his uncle.
I'm talking about the two young ones that wrestled tag team.
I can't remember.
I can't remember their name either, but he's related to them, and Rikishi's related to them also.
Yeah, Rikishi is the cousin of Yokozuna.
Yeah,
along with the Rocky Maivia. They said Yokozuna was nice.
Yeah, the Rocky's mom. Yeah, she wrestled for a while, but his father wrestled until he couldn't wrestle anymore.
Yeah. But I liked Rikishi. I thought he was badass. They'd be in the corner. They'd slip and fall and be sitting on the mat. Yeah. And Rikishi would spin his head around, and all of a sudden he'd start smacking his ass, going to give him the stink face.
Yeah, I remember that.
And my last favorite tag team was the Dudleys.
Yeah, they were kind of cool.
Yeah, one's black, one's white. They were the Dudley brothers. They what was it? Bubba Ray and Devon. Yeah. Oh, every time I remember they brought him back, a special event. I'm like, oh, somebody's going to get it in the nuts. Not only they slam people through the table, you'd say, set the table, They do that flying headbutt from off the top ropes and headbutt you in the nuts.
How you doing?
Oh, my God.
How you doing?
They call that,
sorry.
Hi, Leonard. And they call that the what's up. They headbutt you in the nuts. What's up? And the whole crowd would yell that. I'm like, hell no. If I was wrestling them, I'd be like, I'll tell you what, I don't mind getting slammed through a table, but I'm not getting it in the nuts.
Yeah, Sammy's already gone to bed, Leonard. Yeah, I remember them.
Oh, Bubba Ray and Devon. The Dudleys.
Yeah, there were a lot of good tag teams there for a while.
But what made them great is a lot of people that wrestled them. They said when you look at it, you're amazing that people didn't get injured or killed wrestling them. He goes, but actually, you rarely got hurt or got a bruise or anything wrestling them guys. They were real good at what they did.
Yeah, those guys choreographed all that. They practice so they won't hurt each other. You know, I've seen some matches, and I'm telling you that I didn't see it as being choreographed. These guys were actually trying to hurt each other. I think one of the matches I watched was The Rock and Mankind, Mick Foley.
I seen the last match that he went by Chainsaw Charlie. It was Terry Funk. It was his retirement match. The last match, I was there, and he wanted to wrestle his best friend, Mankind. Mick Foley.
Yeah,
Them two damn near killed each other. I almost stopped it myself. That's how bad it was.
Mick Foley was the man, just wouldn't give up. He'd be beat to a pulp, and he'd still come at you.
I like that when Ron Simmons, they would interview wrestlers and talk about people they wrestled or whatever, and he's mentioned Mick Foley, and you see Ron Simmons, all wonderful people. I've wrestled him. He was great people to work with, but going in, he wasn't afraid of shit.
Well, they actually said in real life that Mick Foley is a really, really nice guy.
Oh yeah, he said, but going in, he wasn't afraid of nothing. He said, jump off a building. Go through a bunch of thumbtacks, firing wall.
That dude would jump off the top of the cage and all kinds of crazy stuff. He was crazy.
Yeah, that's why he's the one I have the most respect for, him and Terry Funk.
Because I like that match I was telling you about with him against The Rock. It was a cage match. And he came out of there, he was all bloodied and messed up, dude.
Oh yeah, you were gonna get hurt wrestling him.
Yeah, but he didn't give up.
Nope. He had part of his ear blown off in a C4 match.
I remember because I think The Rock won that one, but Mick Foley came out of there all beaten and bloodied. So I think he climbed to the top of the cage and slipped or jumped or something.
But if you didn't want to do something, Mick wouldn't do that to you. Like, he would talk to Ron, and he goes, you want me to cut you here? And Ron's like, no. You're like, okay, we'll figure something else out. When you wrestled Mick, he said he ain't going to have you do something that you do not want to do. Like, you don't want to bleed, he'll make sure you don't. But he said, you're going to have to do it to me. But he was the king of the hardcore shit with Mick Foley.
Are you pumping fuel with your headset on?
Yeah, I'm out here. Well, I ain't pumping it yet, but I'm getting ready to.
I was just thinking about how they tell you not to use your cell phone and all that dirty gas pumps.
Well, the cell phone, you're looking through it. It's still mounted on my dashboard. I got my headset on.
Yeah. I'm talking about the electronics. They say can sometimes set the fumes off.
No, not the headset.
Oh, I don't know about the headsets. I know the cell phone can do it.
But I like how Ron Simmons said that. You knew going in, he wasn't afraid of shit.
Yeah. There were a lot of them back in the day that were kind of like the old football players we were talking about. They were old wrestlers. They gave their all for entertainment,
Uh-huh. But why you can see all this on YouTube. Watch some of the, they call it shoots. You type in a wrestler shoots, and they'll talk about my favorites to listen to is some of the old wrestlers talking about when they used to work with Andre.
Yeah.
Yeah, hands down. That's when everybody learned that Andre's drinking ability is legendary. Nobody will be able to do what he did. Because Andre, the way he drank, that would kill a normal human. That's alcohol poisoning. They said, oh, he in 10 minutes he'd take out a bottle of vodka, and he goes, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
If I drink a bottle of vodka, I'd be in the hospital.
Yeah.
And when Jake the Snake was, when he originally started, he was a referee. And they said, hey, here's Andre. Drive him from here, point A, point B, take care of Andre. So that's what he did. And he goes, how you doing, Andre? He goes, he had a cargo van with a beanbag chair in the back. And he's like, beer. He's like, hey, he walks, he talks. He goes, I'll get a couple beers myself, Andre. He gets a six-pack. And Andre leans over at Jake the Snake and goes, 2 cases.
Huh.
And he said, I figured he'd want some for the room. It's an 80-mile trip, you know. It's about an hour and a half drive. Well, make a long story short, before they made it to their destination, Andre had polished off the whole 2 cases. And it's like, how do you? And and Jake goes, he never got out to piss. I had a 6-pack. He goes, I don't buy beer. I just rent it for a while. He goes, I had to get out and take a piss like 3 times in this trip. Andre never had to go out and take a piss. He goes, I felt so inadequate. He drank 2 cases of beer in an hour and a few minutes and never had to piss. Because when they stopped, he said their beer cans, he said every couple of minutes he was hearing pop, 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 you know, because he kept opening the tray. Because 1 can is probably 1 swallow for Andre.
Yeah, that's only what, 12 ounces? Yeah.
And, well, he could hold a can of beer in his hand and you wouldn't know it. They took a picture of that and it's like, that doesn't look real. Oh, yeah, it is. His palm of his hand was twice as big as a can.
He's a big dude.
Oh, he's 7'4", but he was just gigantic.
Yeah, 7'4" and over something 500, pushing 500 pounds or something.
At towards the end of his career, yeah. At WrestleMania 3, he was over 500.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go, guys. Y'all have a good day.
All right.
I gotta go in here, get my receipt, and then go to my 90. Thanks for joining me. I'm sorry, Mike G. How you doing, Leonard? Mike G. Thanks for being here. I'll probably see y'all on a live stream. Somebody's tonight, or I'll probably do another one. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye bye.
Later, brother.
Bye bye.